Good morning, everybody.
Good
Uh,
morning.
so this week,
Uh,
this is our last meeting before the release of 0.9.6. 096, of course, is going to be the main feature there, is going to be the long-awaited foliage system that is the sequel to the world-famous system that we had in Leadworks, which was very, very cool, but in Ultra, we just cranked it up a notch. So let's see. I've got just a couple of slides to go through. This is a DLC that I'm working on converting to Ultra, and some interesting things came up working with these 3D models. I always like to. I don't like working with programmer art. I always like to work with the real thing because oftentimes you learn a lot of things that affect your design that you just never would have otherwise. I like these trees because they actually look quite a lot like the trees in the Sierra Nevadas of California. Like I can just tell, just looking at these, I can tell the area they live in is very dry. There's probably a lot of forest fires. Some trees like this, actually, the way they only reproduce during a forest fire. Like they have these pine cones that fall to the ground and they're like sealed shut and they only crack open if there's a fire. So they actually need fire to reproduce because it's part of the natural cycle of nature. So, anyways, so last week I implemented animation hooks, which a few people have been asking for. Backface lighting. Okay, so this is if you have a masked texture like these leaves. In what we've kind of been doing is we just make sure that those surfaces are facing up, and then when the sunlight shines down on them, you see the light shining through it, and it looks okay. And that works for some situations, but if you have a surface that's more like sideways, then you really need the light to be able to come from either side. If it's an object that's like thin enough that light can shine through it. So I did some work to make the lighting equation a little bit more intelligent in those situations, and it was really necessary to get leaves like this to look right. Post processing effects have been moved into their own folder called effects, and the reason for that was you had a lot of effects. The reason for that was because you had a lot of when you open the file dialog like this, there was like a ton of other file, like folders really, not other files, because you have this selector here that only makes it so you can only see those files. But just all the folders, like all you see is a bunch of folders when you open the dialog, this file dialog. So I changed that so that they are now in their own subdirectory. I don't have it in this project, but they're now in an effects folder. So if you skip messages like this saying failed to load post-processing effect, you just need to update your project here like that in the project editor. Or you can just copy and paste those files, the FX files, into an FX folder. I added a camera set skybox method. This is a way to disable the skybox when you're doing kind of multi-camera rendering, like especially if you're doing like outlines. Drake Black requested that because there didn't seem to be any other way to handle what he was trying to do. And then I actually spent 2 or 3 days working on some third-party DLCs that we have coming. And these are very cool, very nice. You've seen a little bit of that with these trees and some of the like Utah canyon looking things that you've seen in previous weeks. So again, Ultra 0.9.6 coming next week with the new foliage system. And this is very cool because it allows outdoor areas to be created. I'll probably go into depth next week a lot. I'll have like an in-depth presentation of all the features and the technology there. This also, I believe, implements the new version of our own model file format. And some other things. Again, next week, I think I'll have a bigger presentation that will go into quite a lot of detail. So, ding, 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 ding. We have a few people here. And we have a surprise for you. Rape Blue, if you can just paste those keys into the chat. So we're just going to paste a bunch of keys, and if you can figure out, like, the number you are, so, like, Aknologiek, you're number 1, Andy90 is number 2, Drake Black, you're number 3, Engineer Bread, you're number 4, Gunman, 5, JT, 6, Michael, 7, Plisa, 8, Kulex, 9, Reap Blue, 10, Uppercase at, you're number 11. User, you're number 12. And Wreckage, you're lucky number 13. Just try to take the key from...
There's one more. You sent me already one for the testing.
Well, try your best. We'll see how it goes.
I'm taking a key that's not... I posted 12 key and there's like 13 people here. So, and alright, so I'm just gonna take the last one. I'll send you the ones I didn't use. So.
Okay. We'll just try and see how it goes. There's also, I think I probably talked about this last week actually. There's a mechanism to install DLCs now, in addition to the ambient CG integration. Are they working?
I'm number 5, correct?
Gunman?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yeah.
Okay, just making sure. Don't want to take someone else's cold.
And if you guys don't know how to activate a product on Steam, you go up here, Games, activate a product on Steam, and then you just paste in your Steam key there. So what you're getting is the basic nature kit for use with 096, and this gives you trees and rocks and a bunch of plants, and it gives you like a much needed basis for outdoor scenes. I'll install it right now. It's about 800 megabytes.
Mm-hmm. So are all these DLCs going to come at once, or are you going to sporadically, like, put them out, like, like I know you work on, like, a canyon set, too. That looks pretty cool.
Yeah, ideally, I would like them both of those to come at the same time. but some of them are quite a lot of work. It's all FBX files, so I have to reconstruct like pretty much all the materials.
Also, quick question: do people need the normal Ultra Engine, or do they need Ultra Engine Pro?
Oh, you need Pro for the keys that I'm sending out right now.
Yeah, that could have been why it wasn't working for some people.
Um,
Most people use Pro, but yeah. So
Yeah, so I asked on the Steamworks developer group. I asked yesterday if it's possible to share a DLC between two apps, that would be a lot easier than having duplicate versions of the DLCs. But we'll see. And if anybody has any problems, we'll get that sorted out. So you've got, let's see, you've got plants. Corn, fern, grass. This is actually the grass that I think Andy has been using this. A lot of plants, which look very nice. A lot of rocks. And 4 types of trees. Beech, birch, oak, and pine. This is going to be a free DLC that goes out next week, just so people have like a basic something to work with the vegetation system.
right, it's kind of like the nature stuff in Leadworks that came like in every project. But
Yeah. Well, actually, that was a. I think that was a paid DLC.
well, there was like some trees and stuff you can like in grass you can play with.
Oh.
I think this is gonna be more like better, more variety here. I think there's only like one tree and one grass and one rock.
Yeah, it's definitely like more of a complete set.
Right.
Also, I want to thank Alien Head for doing the LODs on the rocks. We might be getting a little bit more of an update from him before next week, but he did quite a lot here. So thank you, Alien Head. Is he here? Oh,
You just joined.
I thought I heard a voice.
No, that was probably me. Someone honked their truck.
Oh, I sounded
Or-
like an alien.
Oh, it could have been the peacock. I live on a farm, so
You have an alien peacock?
no, but it sounds weird if you're not used to it.
Okay. All right. So yeah, and so let's see. It looks like there were. I made some fixes, quote unquote fixes, to the. I was messing around with the animation in the GLTF loader and the model loader, and I might have messed some things up. But if so, I'll fix that before next week. This is kind of an interesting. This is actually an interesting one. Both you and Spider Pig have reported some machines not being able to load zip files. And it's very rare that we see a difference in behavior on two machines. When it's not, I mean, usually that either means it's something related to graphics. Because I mean, graphics drivers are not deterministic. I mean, it's not like a CPU where it does the exact same thing. They just aren't. Or it can be related to the username or the language. That's just about the only time that I see anything where you get two different results on two different computers, unless it's just like, you know, like a memory access error or something where it's just random. and I traced this. I found in here in the libzip or ziplib or whatever it's called library that we use. And it was very hard to find this library because it supports encryption. It supports the AES Advanced Encryption Standard. It supports the more advanced encryption that most files do not. It supports Unicode, but I traced its problem back to this function. This is like way in the internals of this library. You feed it a file name that's supposed to be, this is just a single character, so it's supposed to be a Unicode string. And then it uses this function to convert that to a wide string for Windows. And I've had some problems with this one. And I use I use something that's built into C++ now, into the STL library. And so I think this is actually what's causing his problem. And I replaced this with, basically I just made this function so it accepts a wide string, like a wcar underscore t, the wide character pointer. And I uploaded that last night, but I don't think he's tried it yet because we haven't seen a response from him about it after that. But that was kind of interesting. Hopefully that will fix his problem. Oh
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he hasn't responded yet.
I would think that's like the only issue because like in LegWorks it works for us. Like it's kind of like weird that things that always works in LegWorks are like we're having problems with, and I think the wide strings could be a part of it.
It probably not didn't work at all in LegWorks. Let's see.
I mean, I never had an issue, and I remember seeing people having issues with opening packages. Creating packages was like something weird because sometimes it didn't pack everything, but
well, LegWorks was using a different library for zipped files, and LegWorks did not support the advanced. It only supported the basic zip, the legacy zip encryption.
Right.
So finding something that has the support for the latest stuff was quite difficult. And then I had to go and hack that library to make it work correctly. But I'm pretty sure it's going to be working now. This is kind of a tricky problem to track down because it's so rare. And of course, I haven't been able to produce any such error at all on my machine, on any of my machines, because they're all set to English anyways. So
don't you have a don't you have a forgot what it's called? I thought you had a multicultural keyboard on one of your machines.
A multicultural keyboard.
Yeah.
I do have one. My laptop has alternative another language on the keys.
Right.
But I haven't messed around with the Windows settings.
Yeah, because you would just install a new keyboard in settings, and then you can just switch it. I used it to test input to make sure that that the key codes were always matched to. Yeah, so use that, and that was kind of helpful for that. To make sure, because a lot of people on other keyboards were saying like, oh well, it says press the P key, I press the P key, and nothing happens.
Yeah, so let's see. Spider Pig? No, he's sleeping. It's like 4 a.m. where he is. Andy, have you taken a look at the animation hooks at all yet?
Not yet.
Okay, I think they only went up like yesterday.
Yeah, I will do it today.
Okay, well, please let me know what you think once you've had time to look at it.
Sure.
Okay, so that's all I've got for this week. We'll just resolve a few small issues and get 096 out next week. Do we have any questions
Yes, actually, I have one.
Mm-hmm.
With the new shaders, there's a problem with transparent materials, for example, on Windows. It would be maybe cool if we can get the old fragment shader back, the shader family, and make some window shader or something like this.
Well, I don't think we
And
need to make another shader. I just need to take a look at it and see what's going on. It'll probably be a simple fix.
okay,
And regarding the shaders, I know you can't like debug my conversation, but I cannot get my bug to reproduce. When I'm doing mostly cameras, so I have a project right now where I have like I have like 5 different cameras,
Mhm.
right? I have like 1 or 2 for the glow system. I have one for the view model. I have one for the HUD, and then I have the 3D viewport. And then if I enable post processing in the scene, I just get a black screen. Um, is there? I cannot reproduce it in the main example. So it's probably something I'm doing in my code, but I don't know what because
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So how would I best debug that?
Upload the
Because
project so I can
all right,
try it out.
I'm probably gonna DM it to you because it's kind of something I want to keep under wraps for now. But
Okay. Ah, cool.
yeah,
I get to see the secret game.
and so
That's my favorite part of my job.
yeah, so I just thought it was weird because and I'm also doing the view model on a different render, and we had conversations with Xform where you didn't want to do that, but to me, I like that because the view model on the fog on the view model can be different from the overall field of view. I
Yeah.
don't I don't like my view models long and skinny. I like them like you know what I mean. Like there's a certain like aesthetic I like about view models, and a lot of indie games I feel like do it wrong, but
Hmm.
I
Okay.
just have like a preference, so I don't know. But without post processing, everything looks great. Minus the cube map stuff where you have to do a for loop to apply the probes. You have to apply the probe reflections to every layer in the scene, and I brought that up in general a few weeks ago.
I think I might have changed it so that by default all lights, which probes are light,
Mhm.
all lights use they have all rendering layers enabled by default. I think I made
Yeah,
that change.
the 255. Yeah, I enabled those the old render layer type from like long ago because I think it's like more useful and more understandable than
Wait,
just
what's
putting
that?
numbers. You remember back like it was like 2 years ago. You had a render layer type in C++, the API, where it's like render layer, and it's like render layer _0 was like 1,
Right.
and then
And so
yeah,
there were 8 of those defined, right?
yeah, and then
But
250, and then all was 255.
well,
Because the bit like
all means that all bits are set to 1. So
right,
like okay, so that supported 8 separate render layers, but in reality, it's just using an unsigned 32-bit integer. So that means that it supports what's 32 times 8?
I'm not good at math.
64, 128, I guess, well, 256. That doesn't make sense. I guess no. Actually, that would be okay. There's 256 bits, right?
Mhm.
I don't know. I get stupid when as soon as the recording is on, like I can't think.
No, I
I think
mean,
there's 256 distinct render layers, actually,
mhm.
right? Anyways,
Well, I was just saying, like I think using that is more helpful. Especially
you can declare
yeah,
constants like
that's what I
that, and it's
did.
exactly the same thing.
That's what I did. I just when you took it out, you just copied and pasted that in like the forms that I've just been copy and pasting my projects.
Right.
I think like something like that, like should be like mentioned in the exam, like in the documentation. Just be like, oh, if you optionally you can define render layers like this, and then people can just copy and paste that. Because to me, it's been helpful to keep track of things. Because I don't know what's 1 or 2 or 1 plus 2 and all that. So
Right. What I do in the editor is I defined them like I have a bunch of defined things like brushes, wireframe, brush wireframes. Those are separate render layer. And I have them all like defined like you're saying. But yeah, having like render layer 0, 1, 2, 3, that's just as meaningless, I think.
all right,
I mean that.
but someone can take that code and just rename it. Like, okay, I want render layer 1 to be like the
Right.
main scene, and then I want these 2 to be for my glows. I want this to be for my view model. I want this to be for my HUD. And then you would know. So I think we should just have it like as a template than a in-engine definition.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. Speaking of, I've got our view model. There it is.
All right, when it's gonna shoot.
Right now. Oh,
No, I
in
mean,
a
like,
second. Oh. Okay, so let's take a look at these animations. Aim, idle. I think this is like iron sights.
Right.
Shooting. I think this is like should be somewhere right around here.
Are we gonna do iron sights or we're just?
I don't want to. I mean, maybe in like a second pass, but let's see. Basic, this isn't doing anything. Okay, this is when you pull the gun out. And I think the animations are probably about twice as fast as they should be, but that's
Yeah.
okay.
Animation speed is kind of tricky because they'll go a certain speed in like Blender, and then when I export them, they either like really fast, and I have to like slow them down. I don't know if there's like a rule with animation speed, but
Well, GLTF format, it does define the speed in the file format, and I think what we just need here is another little field where you can type in the speed.
right, it'll be great if you can just adjust the speed and everything here, and then you can
Yeah.
say, oh, that's way too fast, and then in the code you can just call the animation. You don't have to worry about.
Yeah,
It's
definitely. I'm not sure what this one is. This might be like if you don't have another clip, then he just looks at his gun. That's the reload animation. Now you notice, I noticed, let's see, right here you get a little bit of, it looks like the clip is going through.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I see
right
it.
there. You can see the clip penetrating through that surface, which is not good.
Well, it's not a deal breaker. Like,
Yeah, it's better than having nothing, and it's not. I don't even know if you can really see it from.
no, I think how it was intentionally supposed to be placed. What does it look like if you put it in the scene? Like, how big is it, and what is the?
Oh, it's like 100 times too big. You have to scale it down,
Yeah.
but that's
That's-
okay. Here's
And where's the
running.
pivot point? Is it like in the center of it, or is it like where it should be, or?
Oh, the Okay, so I'll show you. It's like it's placed like based on his feet. Let's see.
Oh,
0,
that's
0,
awful.
0.
I hate that. I hate when people do that. That
But you have to live with this. There is no way to change these points.
Well, what we can do is that you just make a pivot where the eyes are, and then just parent the model to the pivot, and then save it as a prefab, and then just load the prefab where the camera is.
Well, if we're having this problem, then it's not that big of a deal.
It's not that big of a deal, but it's not ideal.
But the most games anyway has an offset vector or not, so you can position the. For example, in Counter-Strike, you can adjust the view model where you want to have it. So
Yeah, I do it in my project too. It's just I don't know. It just makes more sense for me if you have 0 be where the camera is, and then you can easily adjust it to where you is relation to the camera instead of the feet.
I agree, but
player-
that's the price of not having control. I mean, if you want control like that, then you've got to make the model yourself from the beginning.
Yeah, and that's usually why I take 5 years to finish it.
But you see that this model has handcuffs, not handcuffs, has gloves on. The most people are doing this to hide the fingers because making fingers and feet are really hard. So you can just put gloves to model, and then you don't have to model this stuff.
Yeah, you don't have to do what Marcel was doing and finger weight each finger.
There's the firing. Still too fast, but that's fine. We'll slow it down. The walk is quite fast, but yeah, if this was like half speed, I think it would be about perfect.
You can also do that programmably too. I think I'm using old code you wrote like years ago for mine, and it works fine.
Yeah. Yeah, we can do this programmatically, or we can do it. Since we have the animations and they look pretty good, I'm inclined to, I'd like to try that, but I'm okay with either way. And there's something else I should point out. In this animation, let's see. Yeah, there, the clip is coming out the side of the gun. It's not quite right. You can see it like shifting back and forth.
Is that because of our like what you guys did, or
No, it's that's how it is. I don't know how it is in 3ds Max, but in Unwrap 3D, that's what it does. And you can see the reason for that kind of weirdness is the clip is not parented to the gun, actually. The clip is parented to, it looks like the root here. So not perfect, but definitely usable. We can definitely work with this, and it was quite difficult. And we have like 12 more guns or something like that with this that are all nice quality. It's about 30,000 polygons, so it's good. This will work.
can we do a transparent effect with the scope and a refraction? Or is it-
Yeah. I was thinking about just making this like super reflective, and then like if we do iron sights like this where you're looking into the scope, then that's when you would maybe use another camera with a higher zoom factor.
Oh yeah, that's the way to do it.
Yeah,
Would you project to texture on that?
yeah. Render it to a texture and then
All right.
add a little bit of a warping effect here, and that would look very nice.
Speaking of refraction, can you enable that? Can you add that to the editor settings?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not there.
Yeah, that should be doable.
Because it's hard, because one of the benefits of going from Logic Soul Engine is the glass transparency effects. And
Yeah. That, and I also need to add a setting for the camera gamma in here.
right.
I think we should make the gamma into the world options, or
I think that's really a per computer setting. It's not really supposed to be a world setting, I don't think.
Yeah. It's kind of like light settings and all that, like tessellation and all that.
Because it's something that's supposed to be different for each monitor. I think if you start using gamma for tuning your lighting colors.
yeah. But if you do it into the settings menu, then maybe people think maybe you need something like game settings, like an extra settings file. where you have global settings and not into this options window here, because I think, from my understanding, these options are only related to the editor.
Yeah.
Right.
But if you create something like game settings under the world settings, for example, and then you have some global settings you can set, for example, the gamma, and I think over the time you will have some even more game settings which are globally.
I think.
Well, I
Well,
actually
no,
have done some stuff with that you guys have not seen. Like I've kind of stayed away from it, but there are some settings that I think should be done on a per project basis. One of those settings might be to select whether the renderer uses sRGB or linear color space. And for that, I do think that we would need a separate dialogue that would be like basically like this, but for settings that are on a per project basis. The color space is one. There was a couple of others. The only like slightly tricky thing about that though is that means that the engine needs to load that project JSON file at start time, and that's just kind of a paradigm that I have not delved into yet. But I do agree. Like something like that will be needed.
I think you're also like overstepping your bounds. I mean, some people want more control over how the game is. I do think that having like a window where it's like you can define if it uses sRGB color space, and you can set your input binds, and you can do all that from the editor. I think people expect that come from other engines these days, but I just think like you shouldn't have to. It should be like an add-on or like an optional thing, like because you still have to like code it, have your project call it from code, and there was a lot of people didn't understand how settings worked and LED works, so I guess it's kind of like it gets a little hairy because you're connecting our games to your editor, and some people like that disconnect, and a lot of people want that connection. So.
I'm not sure. I think the most people will use the editor to create a game. I know that there are some people out which creating games with just an SDK, but I think the most people will use an editor.
Well, or also like Ultra Engine Library, some people can just use the engine as a rendering engine.
I mean, you could create a function, the start of the main, for example, in the main file to load an JSON settings file. And with this, and if you don't want this, then you just delete this one line code out of your project.
That's not a bad idea. That could be a very nice way of handling it, actually. So another like per project setting that I would like to add is I would like to have it remember whatever filter you have here set. I would like to have each project remember basically so that by default, if you go into a model folder, you don't see where is it? Rifle. I would like it so that if you're browsing around in the models folder or if any subfolder, by default it would use this as the filter.
Right.
Like by default, and then if you go somewhere else, if you go to materials, then by default it would switch the filter to that, and it would remember that setting. There's a few other settings that get stored in a project file. And
like the blacklist. I want project-based blacklists. So
let's take a look. Okay. So the launch configuration, this is all stored in the project file. Recent files, that changes from project to project, right? So that is stored in the project file, actually. The templates that's the templates that the project was generated from. And then validation layers, I guess we don't need that anymore, but that's another example of a per project setting. Andy's suggestion about making the code, building the code into the template that loads that project file, that's probably a pretty good way to handle that, because then it's still under your control. And it's totally transparent, but it's also automatic by default. That would be cool.
Can you make that window like a Lua window so you can add your own settings?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure you don't want to write an input setting system, but I already did, and that kind of be great if I can just define my lines in that window instead of writing it in JSON.
Yeah. Let's save that for like 097 and not try to do it next week, because I don't want to rush through it. But
no.
But yeah, definitely. In other news, actually, Kronos contacted me a week or two ago, and they asked me to join the advisory group for the GLTF file format. Based on, they were talking about, let's see, he just gave me a link to some of my blogs, and he said that he was interested. Their marketing director said that, you can't see that. Those are hidden blogs that I haven't published. I don't know where it is, but I was talking about some extensions for the GLTF file format, some custom extensions for displacement and stuff like that, and some of the tessellation stuff that I did. They were kind of interested in that, so cool. I signed the NDA, but that's all. I haven't had a meeting with them yet.
Would this mean GLTF will not suck? Well, suck less. Like you've been very vocal about its limitations.
The only,
I guess, like, your issue was that it wasn't really made for games, and you were trying to use it for games.
Okay. There's a couple of things that I have to say about GLTF. One is that it was meant for a file format for WebGL. That's what it really is designed for. That's why it uses JPEG textures. That's why it has a base64 encoded sort of pseudo-binary version of the format. The problems with GLTF are that, one, it comes in 4 different versions. There's GLTF text, GLTF text plus a binary file. There's GLB, and there's also GLTF with base64 encoded data, so that it's still ASCII, but it's sort of more efficient ASCII. So there's 4 different versions of the file. It doesn't have external materials, which that was the thing that really killed it for us, for being able to use it as our... Initially, I wanted to use it as our file format. Right. And then we figured out that we really, really need shared materials. Especially with the work I've been doing lately. If I've got like 20 different trees and they all share one material, I can just import the one tree and adjust the material, and then all the others work perfectly. It's really nice. So it was designed for WebGL, but what it really is turning into, it's an interchange format. It's turning into an interchange format. That's how it's being used. That's what it's good at. The best aspect of it is the material system is quite good. Especially after working with FBX files all week. The material system in GLTF is fantastic. And the best thing about it is what it doesn't do. They made hard decisions about what the GLTF file format supports and what it does not support. They have a very well-defined channel layout. They did not go the route of saying, oh, we're going to support everything. We're going to define, okay, in the file format, it'll tell you, well, the green channel of the second texture defines the roughness, or in these files, the green channel can be used to define the metalness. No, they made hard decisions. They didn't say, oh, the scale is defined in the file format. No, they said 1.0 means 1.0 meters, period. Those were some very, very good decisions. I do think the data layout for the file format is unnecessarily complicated. You have things like buffer views and accessors, and I think those are completely unnecessary. And the problem with that is you start when you increase complexity, you have a limited capacity for complexity, and once you reach a certain capacity, you're paralyzed. And that's kind of the point where our GLTF loader is right now. It's almost perfect, but I can't really, if I change one little thing, I break it. Because it's almost 3,000 lines of code. The worst problem that I have with it personally is the inverse bind matrices that are sometimes defined in the file. Inverse bind matrices, these are sometimes referred to as bind poses. I understand the theory of how they work, and I can make them work sometimes, but I can't. Some files, they do not work. And so what I have to do is I import the GLTF into Unwrap 3D, and then I export it again as a GLTF, and then it works fine because it resets the bind poses. And I actually, I asked on GitHub, let's see, GitHub Chronos GLTF. And I was being kind of whiny about this, but sometimes being loud.
Yeah, that's the thing. Sometimes that helps.
Do you also edit SIM? Because I had some problems.
No, I was just temporarily testing it. Okay, so I was asking, is there a command line tool that will remove the inverse bind matrices and resave a GLTF file in which the initial pose is used to calculate the inverse bind matrices? I've been trying to get this to work in our software for several years. I don't think it ever will. We can load and play the skeletal animation with no problems. And GLTF files without inverse bind matrices work fine. I understand the concept, but there are too many small things that can go wrong in our code. Our GLTF loader, it collapses the skinned meshes into a single top-level node, and then skeletons are a separate hierarchy from the model hierarchy. So there's a lot of complications in there. And so my approach, what I was thinking was that maybe we can, since Unwrap 3D does a really good job of removing the bind poses, maybe we can just kind of pre-process the file and feed it clean geometry, basically. And there are some tools that do exactly that, like GLTF transform. Except, that's one of the things it doesn't do. But I actually did get there is some discussion here. Apparently, probably a lot of other people have had problems with this same thing. But yeah, there's quite a lot of discussion about this.
Yeah. Also animations in 3D are really complicated. So yeah, having a file format which is making even more complicated is not that nice, to be honest.
Yeah, it's very, very difficult, and it's like when you make things even more difficult, it's like, our lives are already hard enough. We don't need extra difficulty just because we are bored or whatever. So who knows? We'll see how that goes. I was invited to SIGGRAPH, which is next month in Denver, but I don't think I have time to go to that. but I will go to the online meetings. Dead air.
Yeah. No, no. I guess my next question is, since you've been on the committee, will this jeopardize the current model format, or do you think?
Oh no, absolutely not.
Okay, because I really like the engine has its own model format, and it can really be made for our needs as game developers. And I like that it supports auto lods, and I like that. In the future, we can do like custom properties per model. So we can say, okay, this is made of wood, or this has a mass of like 5 or something.
Yeah, this has worked out really, really well. I can the model saving, like once you get it into our file format, it works incredibly well. This model used to be like 15 different sub objects, and I just went up here and went collapse, and it collapsed everything down, and the animation like worked perfectly. It didn't mess up at all. Yeah, this has been very good. Again, like GLTF, what it's really become is it's an interchange format. Is how I see it. Even though it wasn't meant to be that, but that's what it's actually getting used as. And so we'll continue to use it as an interchange format to get our own files.
Right.
I like the thing that you can load custom colliders. I use GLTF for the custom colliders even. It's working pretty good.
Yeah, but they're gonna be mesh based, so they're not gonna be really good for like physics objects. Is that correct, Josh? Or am I lying?
Yeah, but I just use them for big models. Like
I
reduce in my buildings. I reduce from like 10,000 collider phases up to 500. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean for buildings and stairs and such, things that don't move, you're fine. Just don't expect to use it for crates and such. Things you want to move, I guess.
Yeah. Andy, I'm actually kind of curious. You mentioned I think a Blender plugin or something you've been using for physics.
It's pretty nice. It makes my life so much easier. You don't know how this insane. I found it today. Even it's open source, and I don't know why I buy it, but yeah, I supported the guy which created it. It's called Blender Tools. You can find it on GitHub.
It's just called Blender Tools?
And not Blender Tools, Collider Tools.
Oh, Collider Tools.
Yeah. Something I want SpiderPig to get working on again is his importer. So maybe we can merge that with his thing. Because it would be really nice if there was just like an official Blender plugin that just made everyone's life easier. He said he wants to revisit it, but I haven't heard from him in a little bit.
I think he pretty much finished it except for animation, and that's, if it never supports animation, I think that's okay.
Animations, and I don't like how he names things. I don't like using caps and all caps. I asked him, like, hey, can I just, like, is there, like, a way I could just rename things? And it's like, oh, no, I have to, like, adjust that. And he said he was planning on releasing code so anyone can fit their art pipeline, but I haven't heard from it since. So
I posted the plugin.
Mm-hmm.
So what you can do is basically you can select phases in Blender and say, okay, create a collider for this selection, and then you have the choose of different colliders. So yeah.
Collider tools. What are collider tools? Create physics colliders for games.
Again, I think it's for free, but if you want support, you have to purchase it. But on GitHub, you can download it for free.
Yeah. Interesting. User. This is a new person. I hope I can activate it in a while. Not yet purchased the pro version. Now you have the perfect reason. Uppercase at. Why the crying faces?
Because you said it. You needed Leverx Pro in order to.
Okay. We'll get that worked out today.
Yeah. Do you, by the way, updated the material for the trees because they was really dark? In my case,
the pine trees.
Yeah. Did you update the materials, or do I need to re-download the DLC from in the engine?
It's if you just reinstall it, it'll overwrite the files with whatever the current version is. So the pine trees, they're using a texture that's kind of dark. I have another version that probably blends in a little bit better with the rest of the stuff. I'll switch them to that. And I did update I think I updated all the plant and tree materials so that they're now using that back face lighting.
Yeah, there was also some, I was just writing to you all the stuff I found out in the DLC when you sent it me at the one day, so yeah.
Yeah.
Was playing a bit around with, and there are pretty cool stuff in it, so yeah.
Okay, cool.
It's a really cool DLC, I think.
Yeah, and that's going to be the basic outdoor scenery, and then we have some more advanced stuff. These trees are pretty high poly, but they look very good. Like, so I think the third party DLCs, I think those are probably gonna be more aimed at high end machines. The first LOD, I haven't decided what I'm gonna do with these, but the highest poly version, the highest detail tree on here has 55,000 polys at its highest LOD. And that's actually okay if you have a pretty good GPU and if you're not using that one over and over. The others are lower poly. And these also have a lot of LODs. So that drops down pretty rapidly as you get further away. So we'll see how it goes. But I think the new stuff that's coming out, the new DLCs, I think those are going to be more aimed at the high end, and they also look really, really fantastic. Okay, so if anybody's having any trouble with the keys that were given out today, just I guess talk to us in the general. If you say anything on the general channel in Discord, I won't see it. It'll just disappear. And I don't want you to send me a PM on the forum. But if you, let's create a forum topic for that.
Just say like beta DLC or something.
What did I call this? Is it called the Starter Nature Pack or something? Starter Nature Kit?
I don't know.
Okay. Basic Nature Kit. Okay, so if you had any problems, then just describe what it is. You know, if you don't have the Steam version of Ultra, then you can say that. If you don't have the Pro version, then you can say that, and I'll just get it sorted out for you. And this will be available free, like once it's actually released.
Right.
What if we don't have a key for the normal version? What is the normal version? The Lua, yeah, that's what I mean. That's the standard version. Yeah, then just write that in the forum, and I'll make sure you get sorted out. There'll either be a duplicate DLC for the standard version, or it will, if it's able to, I'll make it have access to the same DLC, which would be preferable. But either way, we'll figure it out.
Is this also going to be hosted on the website for people who use the standalone version of the engine?
Yeah, some way, somehow. Like, basically,
you have a download section now, so you can just put it up there.
Yeah, that's one way. Like, once the files are in, all you have to do is get those files into the DLC subfolder in the Ultra Engine directory, and the editor will see them, and it doesn't care if it's Steam or the standalone or whatever. So yeah, there's a bunch of ways we can do it.
It's in program data. So if I download it in Steam and then use the standard version will see it, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
Because it has to be in the same folder.
Okay.
Gotta go. Keep up the great work. Nature Kit looks awesome. All right, thank you, JT. Thank you for coming today.
On that note, I want to cycle back to two things discussed in previous weeks. One, you said you were going to look into adding sounds to the asset library, because looking at sounds is really, really, really annoying, especially with how it's implemented in OpenAL, because sounds you need to be mono, and all sounds you find are stereo. So you spend time converting every sound to mono, besides like music or whatnot. Or yeah, the Sinus Effect packs I've been using, and you have to do that. I have like a copy of Audacity from like 2006 that I use, and it's just really annoying when I have to do that.
I use a program called Goldwave.
I have that too. It's
a
very old version, but let's just say like it's very iffy. So I just used Audacity because I know how it works, and yeah. So I needed Goldwave back in the day to loop sounds, because how Source treated looping sounds, but yeah, you have to like make everything mono and everything because of how OpenAL works. So I just want to know if that's going to be like a thing in the future, because looking at sounds is really annoying. Or finding sounds and like opening archives of like gigabytes of sounds is just not ideal.
Yeah. So, yeah, the thing with we actually have so much free content available now that just going through it is itself like almost an impossible task. Like organizing it and being able to quickly browse it is becoming more and more important.
Right, and a lot of this sounds like for like film, and so you just get like 5 minutes of just like birds chirping. It's like
yeah. So with Sonus, Sonus is the biggest source I know of for free sound effects. I don't really know of anything else. where you have
You
like
mean-
a certain baseline of quality?
You mean sound effects or general sounds? For general sounds, you could use Splice, for example.
What's that?
There you can download sounds. It's more made for the music industry, but they have also some sound effects. But it's costs a monthly subscription, then you get credits, and then with these credits you can download sounds.
Well, with the Sonus content, we do have. I mean, how much total all their GDC packs they've given away? How much do you think that is? Like 10 gigabytes?
It's a lot, and half of it's unusable for games.
So you've scanned through. It sounds like you've scanned through the contents of that.
I scanned through some of them, and some of them are like in this like weird like format. I don't know what it is.
Well, like FLAC?
No, it's like some like. Hold on, let me open one.
I've only I've downloaded a few, and I think I've only like extracted like one or two and looked through a few folders. And the stuff that I found was actually quite usable.
No, yeah, it's really good. With the stuff you do find, it's really, really good. There's just a lot of things. It's just the issue is that, find it. The issue I ran into is, let's just open this one. The issue I found it's like I have this Sonus GDC 2016. It's part 2 out of 6. This is when I didn't have great internet, so I could only download like certain much at a time. But all these sounds are all stereo, so I have to. So if I do find a sound I like, I have to take it into Audacity, cut the, make it mono, which I just split the channels and just delete one channel and then just set it to mono. And then I have to resave it, and then it's usable in the engine, and then I can make it louder, or then I can change the pitch or the volume in the engine, which is not a big deal.
Well, one thing we could do, I mean, that's fairly trivial, but one thing we could do is if we had these files hosted on a server, we could just make the converting that into mono could be part of the download and install process. That would be fairly easy to do.
I think, see, the issue is that you have to extract it just to hear what it sounds like. Like, when I was like doing Source Engine stuff, they had a sound browser, and then you just go through all the sounds, and then it will autoplay each one, and then you'd be like, oh, I really like this sound, and then you would use that sound. That's kind of what I want in Ultra Engine. I kind of just want a sound library that I can use without getting sued, and just list and just say no, yeah, this could work. You know what I mean? Like, I want like that experience.
Yeah. Let's see.
But yeah, I don't have all the science packs because of how big they are. And that's the thing, like it's kind of like trading cards, right? It's like you don't know what's in them until you open them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like there's so much to go through that it's like if just having like a good having a good search feature would make a huge difference. Because you're right, there's just like a huge there's like a 4 gigabyte zip file split into like 10 different sub parts.
Yeah.
And searching for stuff is very difficult.
Yeah, and sound is like, I don't worry about materials and models or whatever. I worry about sounds because I don't have like good recording equipment and all that. So I can't make my own sounds like I can make my own models or textures. So I know this is a big one of my bottlenecks is sounds. I actually had to pay someone to get some of Cephalin's sounds done.
Okay, well, I think the first step in doing that, first of all, Sonus is the only source I know of like that.
Right.
I don't know of anything else.
the issue is not the type of the sounds are good. It's just the amount,
Right.
And it's just the amount, and it's like all like fragmented.
Okay, so first of all, let's focus on Sonus, and at the same time, if anybody finds any other source of free open source sounds that we can use, please let us know. But if not, then we're just going to focus on Sonus. Therefore, I need to read the license carefully and see if I am permitted to upload all of these onto a server. Okay. We need them to be like, we can't put them in zip files in packs. So like our download system like this is not appropriate for that. What we need is something more like this. What I would like is to just have the ability to hover over a thumbnail and have it start streaming that audio from the server.
Yes.
So maybe we need a low quality, like a conversion to like a 128 hertz MP3 that's stored on that server, and then
does those changes support MP3s?
No, but the license for those is the patent is expired, so I guess so we can add support for that.
Well,
so you would hover over
the sound you want, and then it'll autoplay like your old plugin used to do, where you just hover over sounds and it just plays.
Yeah, let me share my screen here. So if each one of these was a sound, if you can imagine, like you hover over this and it starts playing, and then if you like it, then you can download it, then you click on it and you have the option to download the full resolution sound. But the one that's playing, that's streaming, that should be probably lower quality, and that should probably be in like some MP3 format or OGG.
Right,
Okay.
just enough so you know what it sounds like.
Yeah, and then you would have like a search function where it's like monster or, gun, whatever it is you're searching for. And then, yeah, because right now, like if you're going through folders, there's no way to really, you can't really search that very well, I found. And then if you have to double click on each file and open it up,
Save it.
It takes a while for the program to start, and yeah, I do definitely think that experience could be. There's probably something we could do there for sound that would be very nice.
Yeah.
I'm just like kind of walking through the process and trying to figure out exactly what that would look like.
All right. I have the license up. You can find it in any zip file. But it says in E, licensee may distribute and publicly perform a reproduction of anything contained within the sound effect collection over any form of public or private medium. So
that's pretty clear. Is there a section of things that you're not allowed to do?
I could just send you this PDF because I might read something and might like think about something. Like I'm just going to PM it to you, and you can look at it later.
Okay.
Obviously, it doesn't accept PDFs, so I'll have to zip it up. Give me a second. Probably because I couldn't extract it, but whatever.
Cool.
So this means you cannot upload the files, or what is this meaning?
Well, according to the license, how I interpret it as Josh can like upload to his server, and then we can pull from his server. I think it's as long as we're like clear that like we didn't make it came from Sinus. I think we should be good. We can't just like say we made it and it's ours.
But I did make it. And it is mine.
I made this. I made this.
All right. Let's see if there's any chat messages. Finally got CoolX to post on the forum. That's all it took.
Mm.
Give him a non-working Steam key.
Another thing I want to revisit was your conversation about a particle editor in Ultra Engine. And although I want like a standardized view of like what I'm working on, I think what I really want actually is just a way to like make a new workplace for like I just want a new workplace to make more workplaces. I guess a particle editor is just an extension of what I actually want in the editor. Yeah, so that answers your question when you're saying, oh, I don't understand why people want like a separate window for a particle editor. Like, I kind of want one because I can just focus on the particle. I can look around it, and I can, like, because in Leadworks, I actually had to stop what I was doing, save down the map, open a new map, open a new blank map, and then work on the particle. And then when I was done with the particle, I had to close that out, and then I had to reopen the map, load the prefab, and then if I didn't like how it worked, I had to close down the map. You know what I mean? There's a lot back and forth. If I could just have different workspaces, multiple workspaces at once, that would be much more simpler. And I think that's like a problem with like a lot of things, especially with prefabs and everything. Sometimes a prefab would need adjusting, but you don't want to break the prefab. You want to just edit the prefab.
Yeah, we were talking about this with prefabs. We were talking about like a few different possibilities. One idea, and we were talking a lot about tabs, like up here, and
yeah. And
one thing I came up with that I dislike less is the idea of like tabs along the bottom here, underneath these four viewports. Putting some kind of tab system there, I think, would be a little bit nicer. Instead of, because putting tab, there's no way to make this look good. If you have like tabs, you have like the menu bar and then the toolbar and then tabs or tabs on top.
You could just make it another tab on the right with the asset library. Just put like opened maps or whatever, opened workspaces, like a workspace tab. But that might clutter things up a little bit. I don't know.
Yeah, that's something I need to think about. Because it's...
You also need the possibility to break prefabs.
Yeah. I dislike the idea of making the editor more complex in that direction, but at the same time I understand like the situations where that would be useful.
Right. Because you're doing a lot of things at once, especially like you're making prefabs and then you're testing them, and like all of this is like I have to adjust the prefab. Because you'll have like a test map and then you'll have the prefabs and then you want to like
if you're going back and forth like that, then I can understand.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, like I really like the relative simplicity that this editor has.
Right.
Like it has just enough to where I think the interface looks interesting, but it's not like overwhelming. And there was a lot of bad ideas that we had at one point in development that I cleared away. We used to have like one big thing was we used to have like a vertical bar on the left here. And once I got rid of that, it just like everything just like came together and it looked so much better. I agonize over the user interface because like it's just like one bad icon throws off the whole look of everything.
Right. Like if you're already using like a spot like the tabs on the right, if that space is already taken up and they get to be whatever, like you turn that into an asset library. Like that's kind of ingenious because you're not making new space for something new. You're reusing space. So if you could just like have like a workspace like tab, and you can just and when you select it, you can and it just automatically jumps you to a different map or prefab or whatever.
Yeah.
And the end user can like manage what workspaces they want in each session. So let's say I'm working on prefabs of monsters. So I got my development map. I got a prefab for like a spider monster, and I have a prefab for a zombie monster. I have a prefab for my player, and then I can adjust those without breaking the prefab. Really, I just swap between them, or I want a prefab of like a bunker or something.
Yeah. I still like the idea of using a drop-down box in the status bar.
That can work
to control that. But
it just needs to be a thing. That's all. To be quite honest with you, just
I don't think there's any way. I don't think there's any way we're gonna fit that into the toolbar.
Right.
Maybe we could put it right here.
I can't see a screen here, so I can't like say here or there.
Yeah, I mean, we do have some space here. We were talking about putting like a button here for the world properties.
Right.
Maybe world properties, project properties, options could go here, like a 3-button thing group here.
Mm-hmm.
But so one of the assumptions of toolbar buttons is they should be stuff that are not necessary. And you'll notice like as the window shrinks, it takes away buttons. And it does these pretty well in like order of their importance. So the first thing that goes is these viewport layout buttons, which are very, very convenient to have. But they're probably the least important thing, the thing that you can live without. The next thing that goes is the undo, redo buttons and the switch between the scene and flow graph views. And then the very last thing that goes is your tool buttons here in the middle, because I don't think those ever disappear. Yeah, those always stay around. So the switching between like workspaces, that's a pretty important thing.
Right. No, but I mean like on the right where this project, this scene, this asset library, just not tapping like workspaces.
So you would have a list here
of like available maps, and then the viewports will just change to the active scene.
Well, then you have this extra space here, and like literally all you would have would be like a list box taking up the entire panel with like 2 items in it.
Mm.
So you'll notice like this actually makes like incredibly good use of space. Like the project tab, this is always full. There's always enough stuff to fill this up. the scene tab. This fills up pretty quickly. Asset
Right.
library. This fills up very easily. If you have another tab over here, then you're just going to have like 3 items in it. So it's a little bit...
Well, who knows?
Maybe, what if there was a combo box somewhere here, like above here or below here? Maybe this is where that should be stored.
Maybe under the scene tab, we can expand the scene. Do something under the scene tab.
I would do it under project actually, because that's I think that's a little bit more well. Okay, maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe if there was some way to select in here.
Well, can you just make more routes like the little Legworks Ultra Engine icon? That will just be defined like a map route, and you just add more map routes to that view.
Yeah, I'd prefer not to have like all the. No, actually, I don't like that.
Okay.
Because then you would have like all the entities that are found in 2 different maps would appear in the same tree view.
Mhm.
And it's like, okay, and then you select one object from one scene and another object from another scene, or like half the, all the objects in maps that are not focused on right now have to be grayed out or something. That gets really weird. I'd rather have like multiple tree views that swap out based on which workspace is selected. Yeah, if we had some combo box or something in here that was showing that you had multiple workspaces available, and if it wasn't hidden too much, maybe we could put something on the right here, maybe some little icon, and
or the drop down box there, and then it'll be like the list of open scenes, and then at the bottom there'll be like open new scene or open new workspace, whatever.
yeah, if we had like some icon for like I'm picturing like a small button, maybe on the right, or maybe I'd say on the right here, because that's gonna break up the that'll allow you to keep the most consistency.
Also, why is the search box square in the asset library, but it's rounded everywhere else?
Because this is also a combo box.
Right. Okay. Saw that like after I was finished my sentence.
What?
I saw that when I was finishing my sentence. I saw a little box and
Yeah, this is also a combo box. I'm not sure. Maybe I don't know if I like that or not. Actually, I might just get rid of that because I do like just for consistency. I like the rounded appearance better. Oh, but this one also is the same. So, and this one you definitely want the combo box in. So I guess this should probably be converted into the editable. This is a text field, and this is an editable combo box.
Well,
Is the-
maybe you
is
can
the
make the
difference.
scene one also a combo box, and you can just like filter things like prefabs and like, oh, I just want to see my prefabs, or I just want to see my models, or I just want to see my brushes.
Well, I mean, right now it searches by name.
Right.
So what we can do is once you enter something, then it gets added to the list, like this.
hmm
I don't know. It's not that important, I guess.
The important thing is like we're just trying to figure out how to have multiple maps open at once. I guess so. I don't know.
Could also just have a menu up here that says like workspace, and then there's a
Right.
menu item for each one.
Right, but then you have to like figure out a best way to close them and open them and all that.
There could be a menu item that says close workspace,
Right.
and another one that says new workspace. I don't know.
Yeah.
There are some things that I don't like working on because it doesn't really add any new capabilities, but it involves a lot of new complexity. Prefabs are like that, and I understand the reason why they are needed for practical usage, but they're not my favorite thing to work on.
No, there's been a lot of issues with prefabs from what I've read. I haven't,
Yeah, they're hard to get right because there's so much that has to be defined.
and meanwhile, I just thought it was just a map file within a map file.
Well, people want it to work the way that they expect when, in any given situation, but it's like, how they want it to work in one situation is not how they expect it to work in another situation.
Right.
And you have to work out all those cases and define it really well. That's the hardest part, actually. Like the code itself is not so difficult.
Right.
Especially, like, one thing we still haven't answered is some details on like how UV mapping on brushes should work with prefabs. Should they retain their same UV, like same texture mapping, or should?
I thought we agreed that it is because you want to like make like let's say you want to make like a house out of brushes, and you then want to put that house in like multiple areas, and you don't want like. And the idea is that you got all the texture coordinates the way you want them, and you don't
Okay.
want them to.
That makes sense to me.
Yeah.
But now I have to go through and code like a special like. I mean, right now we have that with texture locking, but that's an editor setting.
Right, but I thought that's how it works now. Like it just saves
I don't think it does.
I thought it does. I thought we had there's a blog post on it, and
Okay.
I brought that up.
Well, that's something that I need to like verify and make sure that we know what. Okay.
Are we still recording?
Yeah, we are.
Okay.
I think I'm about ready to wrap this up. What is this? Game music and loops. Let's take a look.
Very quick, will VR be fixed before next week, before the release?
That's another thing. I haven't even run the engine in VR in a while, but what is this? Zap Splat royalty free game music and loops. Excuse me.
Thank you.
I'll check it out this week.
Alright.
Okay.
Thank you.
Seasonal allergies are coming on.
Alright.
Okay, so if there are no other questions, I'm gonna stop the video here.
Yeah, it's been 3 hours, so.
Has it?